Are you there?
Hey, good morning, and welcome to our podcast, Ask Janae. And we have a special guest today, Merv Anderson, CPA, also a musician. So we're really looking forward to today's topic. I went ahead and I put a request on my personal page for any of you that had specific topics that you wanted to hear about. And this one came up. And so I asked Merv, since he's a musician and also a CPA, to join me on the show. It's actually the first time I've done this like jointly with another tax pro, which I'm super excited about doing because in this industry, we need to stick together because it can be very challenging at times. And I know that I've reached out to Merv on many occasions just to, voice frustrations or support or whatever we can do for each other. And that's just been, great to have someone like that on your team. So anyway, today we're going to talk about taxes and musicians and how do we know when it goes from a hobby income to a business income, and how do you know when you reach that shift, and can you feel the shift and so forth? And we're going to kind of delve in deep about the different things, but so let's go ahead and get started.
Sure.
Okay, so yes, today our special guest is Merv Anderson. Welcome, Merv, and we're so happy to have you here. He has a CPA practice, Anderson Accounting. So make sure we're going to have another slide at the end there also to make sure that you follow him on his different social media accounts and so forth, and get in touch with him if you have any further questions, or you can reach out to me. And anyway, we would love to help you. So welcome, Merv. So nice to have you here.
Good morning.
So how are you
nice
doing?
To be here.
We're like the last day of corporate filings, and whose crazy idea was to do the show on today anyway?
I don't know. It was yours. It was
mine. I know. It's like, oh my gosh. And then I asked another CPA to join me, and I'm like, I'm sorry?
We have till midnight, so we're okay.
Yeah, we have to. And I might just go right to midnight. No, I'm actually doing okay. I got a couple more to do, but I'm getting close. So then it's, a little reprieve or something. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the topic. A little bit about me. I've been doing this a really long time, 40 some years, mostly as a managerial accountant, and now as a tax professional, an enrolled agent, and yada, yada, yada. That's all about me. So I'm sure some of you have been following the podcast, some of you, you might be new to this. But make sure you like and subscribe to our different social media platforms, or if you would like to join our newsletter and get upcoming events, notifications of upcoming events, that'd be great. Altera Business Solutions, that's our company. So, all right. So, that's about the company. Oh, those little records aren't moving now, Lars. That's funny. The graphics of the record players were moving in the original graphics. That was kind of cool. Anyway, so our topics for today is we're going to go ahead and we're going to understand what tax deductions are for musicians. There's a number of different tax deductions that musicians can take. And we're going to review those common deductions, knowing when to start claiming deductions. How do we know when we can? Hobby income versus business income, and tax implications of hobby income. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because there's some rule changes, right, for hobby income with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. So, all right, let's talk. Brief introduction of the importance of tax planning for musicians. Well, I mean, as musicians, we know that it can be very expensive, right? And a lot of musicians are out there playing and they're doing some gigs, and I'm sure most of their expenses are more than what they're actually making. And so that goes a lot. And then once you get to that point of where you can transition and actually deduct your business deductions, then, you want to be able to make sure that you take advantage of that. And so, anyway, brief in. So, is there anything? See, tax planning is vital for musicians to manage their finances effectively and maximize their tax deductions. Okay, so we have a number of different musicians that might also be musicians, but they might also be involved in other businesses that are similar or relatable to music, and so it's important that you plan so you can maximize your deductions.
Mhm.
Right. And understanding. So I'm going to go right here, common deductions for musicians. And so Merv,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. So what kind of equipment and supplies would a musician have? Because I know you probably have a lot of harmonicas and
Yeah.
microphones.
Well, those are the easy ones, the direct costs. So that will be in my case, harmonicas or guitar strings or the actual guitars. Some can be very expensive. Harmonicas add up because I go through a lot of them. Amplifiers, the direct expenses, everything related to your business as a musician should be deductible. But of course, there are also the indirect expenses, which I think your audience will probably be more interested in. For example, the home office deductions, the software related to the music business, subscriptions to software, books, periodicals. There's a lot of ancillary expenditures related to being in a business, and particularly the business of being a musician.
Absolutely. Very, very good. Very good advice. Because so we went ahead and talked about the indirect expenses, but there's a number of other expenses like Merv was suggesting. I mean, for travel, travel is one of those big expenses because, obviously most musicians are traveling to go to their different gigs. And so they want to make sure that they are either tracking receipts, right? So if you're going to do actual travel deductions, you want to make sure that you're saving all your receipts for your fuel and so forth, or if you're going to use the mileage. But so the mileage is actually deductible as well as your lodging is deductible. And we get 50% of our meals are deductible. And so a musician travels to another city for a performance, they can deduct the cost of the flight, the $300 hotel stay for $150 a night for 3 nights, and 50% of all their meal deductions. So want to make sure that you keep your receipts, right? Merv, so we always telling everybody hates accounts. What do you mean you always need the receipts and everything? I always say, you know what? If you can't remember to save them, and we all get all these little receipts in our little, center console of our car, and they add up until they get all crinkly, and then you have to throw them in the trash. But go ahead and take a picture. Take a picture of your receipt and then go ahead and categorize that. If you can go ahead and categorize all your pictures of the receipts under a different menu, then when it comes tax time, you have all of your receipts available for you, and you can print those out for your CPA or your tax professional. Okay, and also Merv, suggested home office. You want to take this slide or?
Let's see. The home office deduction. Well, I think maybe we're jumping ahead a little bit, but
Okay.
the most important question to me is, do you have a hobby or business?
Yeah, that's
And once
actually
you
towards
determine
the
if
end.
you have,
Yeah, that's towards the end of the
yeah,
slides.
right. So what I'm thinking is, if you have a business, if you're determined not to have a hobby, you have an actual business, a for-profit venture, then we can take a home office deduction. What happens is most of musicians, until they're really big, have a sole proprietorship.
Right.
Maybe they'll have an LLC set up, but still, even the LLCs will be a sole proprietorship. When you get bigger and you want to start funding pension plans, that sort of thing, then it's possibly an S corporation. But for the home office, it's a great deduction, and that is going to be usually hit you when you're on a reporting on a Schedule C. That's a sole proprietorship. And you can take a percentage of all of your home operating expenses against your income. And being a sole proprietorship, that is the most expensive way to report your income, because you not only pay your regular taxes, you pay
So,
self-employment taxes.
mm-hmm.
That home office deduction is going to be much more important for you when you're reporting on a Schedule C as a business. Now, did you want to go ahead and kind of explain the general rules related to that? Go ahead.
What, for
Janae.
home office?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. For qualifying for the deduction, I mean, obviously, at this point, if you're a musician and you're considered a business, then you can take the home office. As Merv was explaining, it's available on your Schedule C, and it's a really good one. All right, especially when you're in California and you've got these high property values, and you get to deduct a portion of your rent or your uh, mortgage, interest, or so forth, or depreciation, right? So you get some depreciation depending on if you own your home or if you're renting, but it's an excellent deduction. So certain qualifications for that is for your home office deductions is, do you have to have a dedicated space where you conduct your business? And it's very important. People say, oh, well, I do it in my room. Well, no, you can't really be sleeping in the same room as your home office. Okay. Some people do that unless you have a designated, like maybe 5 by 5 square foot certain area or whatever that you designated solely for the purpose of doing your home office. And, any of your home office, on your phone, making phone calls and, whatever you need to do to book gigs, and if you're tracking your receipts and your bookkeeping, and there's a lot of stuff that once you get into the business that you got to track. And also you're going to have different various members of your group, and depending on who is collecting all the money and is going to get 1099 and who's going to be so forth, so that can get a little more complicated. Back to home office. Sorry to get a little sidetracked, but
That's a really good point, though, is that the home office, you can't have your kids playing videos for hours a day in your home office on your computer. It has to be used regularly, which means all the time, and exclusively for business purposes to be a home office. And also, it has to be a separate room. You just can't have your living room or your kitchen table and say, well, my kitchen is part of my home office. No, it's not. It has to be used exclusively for business purposes.
Exclusively and regularly, like business hours.
Yes.
So very, very, very perfect. That was a perfect explanation. I didn't say exclusively. I forgot what I said, but it was for the sole purpose of doing business in that area. So very good. So there's a couple of different ways you can calculate the deductions. There's a simplified method that gives you $5 per square foot. Really is not that great for people in California because, like I said, our property values are so much higher, or our rent and so forth. So we probably would want to use just the regular method and deduct it based on the percentage of our office compared to the overall square footage of our home, and we get to deduct that percentage. And that includes your rent or your depreciation if you own your home, but it also includes utilities that you are required to maintain your home, like electricity and stuff like that. So that is also part of that figure. So anyway, any other you want to add? What should we? All right. So okay, you want to go back?
No, I think you pretty much got it. It's a very important deduction. It's worth a lot of money. So make sure you pay attention to that home office deduction if you are an operating business. So there you go.
Very, very good. Yes, I agree. Yeah, we love that one. Okay, so education and training, and sometimes we don't even think about this, but we could do classes and workshops for musicians, private lessons. If we want to go ahead and take lessons, we can actually deduct those lessons now if we are a business, or if you want to take online courses. So if you want to improve your skills and you're a professional musician in the business of playing music, then you can deduct any of your classes or your private lessons or online courses. So most people don't think about it, but I do know that there was of course, most of us know Randy Rhoads, especially us older folks that were around in the 80s for that. But he was a very famous guitar player, and who died in the plane crash. But one thing that he would do when he was actually traveling is wherever he went, whatever home, um, wherever he was playing, he would look up for a classical guitar instructor in that town, and he would go ahead and take private lessons. And it's kind of weird to think what Randy Rhoads is, going and taking private lessons from, these different musicians because he was such a top-notch musician, but those are all tax deductible. So anyway, it's just
Nope. One differentiation you might want to make is if you're a kid taking piano lessons, like me at 6 years old, taking those lessons, not deductible. But once you are a professional musician, taking those lessons or getting education to keep your skills up in that business, those are deductible as business expenditures. So you already have to be a professional.
Yeah. Yep. That's the point. Hi, Mick. It looks like Mick joined in here. He's kind of stuck on call, so he's been going back and forth, but we appreciate you here, Mick. So one of my musician friends. Okay, very good. So let's see what else. Marketing and promotion. This is a big one. All those band flyers, right? It used to be band flyers back in the day. I am dating myself again. But anyway, so yeah, because we might have website expenses, advertising, a number of bands are like doing Facebook advertising to get to promote their shows, any promotional materials. I know I got right here. Look what I got here. My juke joint preacher's card. And
there you go.
Yeah, so that's tax deductible, right, Merv?
That's right.
Yeah, so any of those promotional materials. So musicians could spend, whatever it costs to build a website and flyers and business cards and promotion. Merchandise. We've got a lot of merchandise, t-shirts. All that is considered promotional material. It's deductible. If you're selling merchandise, then you're probably going to have some income from merchandise. So that pretty much would be a cost of goods versus being a deductible, unless you're giving away those items as promotional materials or promotional items. You have anything to add on that, Merv?
No, are deductible items. Anything remotely related to the business of music is going to be deductible. And most musicians, professional musicians, will have different income streams. You've got your promotion related to your live gigs, but you also have expenditures related to writing. You have expenditures related to the business of creating these different income streams, because most musicians can't make money just off gigging or just off writing. They have a combination of everything, but everything related to that is going to be deductible. For example, you mentioned your materials, your business cards, your paper, your computer systems. Your computer is an expenditure related to your business.
Mm-hmm.
Your office desk, which is kind of related to the home office, but your desk, file cabinet. Well, people don't have file cabinets anymore, but they have services related to saving things on the internet. Your backup, everything is related to the music business, or can be related to the music business, and that is a deduction.
Very, very
Keep an open mind.
Yeah, keep looking for deductions, as we say. We're always
That's
looking,
right. And the best thing is to ask Janae or myself, or your tax provider, send them an email. I'm not sure about this deduction. Should it be deductible? And just send them an email, send them a text, and they can answer you in seconds.
Yes, as long as we're not like buried in tax returns like the day of tax filing. Well, but it'll take a little longer than sexes. But yes, but more often, yes, we're here totally to help you guys succeed, and whatever we can do to succeed and to benefit and maximize your tax deductions. That's our profession. So we enjoy doing that, especially for our fellow musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So what about professional fees? Hey, here we are, Merv. So yeah, you can actually pay your accountant and deduct it. So anyway, people always kind of forget that. I'm like, just remember my bill's deductible, so they can deduct it. Anyway, so for accounting and tax services, legal services, if you got a manager, your management fees, for booking. So, a musician could pay $1,000 for annual tax preparation services. That seems, anyway, that would be nice. $2,000 for legal advice on a contract. Both expenses are deductible. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, if they are directly related to the music business, for example, tax prep, only a small portion or a portion of that would be related to the music business. For
Good
example,
point.
if you have your regular personal tax return, just to Schedule C, where you report your music business income, is tax deductible. So if that takes up, you'd have to estimate it, or you have to have your tax guy estimate. Is 25% a reasonable allocation for deduction? Is 50%? Because your books are a mess. I don't know.
Right.
But it has to be allocated. You can't take 100% as a business deduction.
That's a very, very good point. And there's other items too that are kind of the similar in the same way, such as your cell phone might be considered business, but it's also personal. So you've got to go ahead and take, estimate the percentage of what's business to personal. So, and this happens on a number of different things when you're using, like for your home office, or when you're using things that are both personal and for business. So you'll need to estimate what's personal and what's for business. Very good point, Merv. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
This will be its own subject itself, but you also do bookkeeping, correct?
Yes.
Bookkeeping is extremely important to track those expenses. And I tell people, showing up at your CPA's office on April 14th with a box full of receipts is, that's not good enough these days. You can have a software set up like QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks that your bookkeeper can help you with, where you can keep track of every one of those expenditures. And I always recommend that my professional musicians have separate accounts for their business, have
Absolutely.
a separate checking account, have a separate credit card that's only used for the music business, and separate them. So whenever you have to back them up, if you're ever audited, you have your statements as well as those receipts. Now, those receipts, I'm not telling you to get rid of them. I'm telling you to to save those, PDF them, and save them someplace by maybe month or year. So if you are ever audited, you do have access to those receipts. But yeah, I'm sure Janae does not want to see a box of receipts.
No,
Maybe
no,
you do.
no. Yeah, no, not anymore. I mean, these days it's really so much easier just to maintain QuickBooks Online, or to do some, bookkeeping, light bookkeeping, and keep yourself current. And especially, staying on top of it, it's going to allow you to make sure that you're not missing anything. I mean, so when you got a box of receipts, and at the end of the year, you're like, oh my gosh, where's that receipt for my amp? And it's a $5,000 purchase, and you don't find the receipt, But if you had accounted for it in your software and capitalized it, and and also QuickBooks Online has the ability to go ahead and upload receipts. That's why I also recommend taking a picture of the receipt, and you can actually you can upload it right into QuickBooks Online and attach it to the transaction representing that receipt. So it's pretty cool. You always got your backup, and if you're ever audited, all your receipts are right there. So if you ever need them. So that's great. Thank you, Merv, for that. So some other business expenses that we might consider for musicians may include, studio rent. I know a number of musicians will rent out space for their rehearsals, or they may actually have a studio that they go ahead and they pay monthly for that studio, and that is also deductible, or any utilities or so forth for that studio. So, and sometimes that is also their other stream of income. I have a friend of mine that he is in a band, Striker, the original Striker, and he also has a studio, and he builds amplifiers, Mahaffey amplifiers. So he's got quite a bit. It's all music related, so he can include that all under one umbrella and make his deductions. So, for his business. So anyway, so you got your studio rent, subscriptions. I think, well, anything that's related is kind of like if you want industry publications, anything essential to your business. I know we get like updates on like our different equipment that might say, oh, these are some upgraded features, or if those types of things. Any of our bank fees, merchant fees, transaction fees, those are obviously all deductible as well. So, you have anything you wanted to add?
No, just that brings back the point of having a separate bank account. If you are doing a bank reconciliation every month, you should be able to catch all those expenses if you run them through your ATM or credit card. So you shouldn't be missing anything. Those bank fees, yeah, if it's your business account, those are deductible. Exactly.
Yep. Great point. It is important to separate your personal from your business, especially if you consider yourself a business and you've gone beyond the hobby income. So it's really important that you have a separate bank account. Definitely. Good advice, Merv. Okay, so knowing when to start claiming deductions. And so I think this is your point there at the beginning of the time, is when do we know when it becomes business versus hobby income? And the IRS guidelines on what qualifies as business expense, indicators of a business, and most of those are based on your profit motives. And when do you begin claiming those deductions? Okay, so what is hobby income? So what is hobby income? Refers to the money earned by activities that are not conducted in the primary intent to make a profit. Okay, so we know that most, if you're a musician and you go out and play a couple of gigs, or a showcase and whatnot, you might make a little money right at the event, but you're not considered a business because that is not your sole means, or you're not profit motivated. I mean, obviously you're thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to live off this income, right? So I'm going to, it's basically considered hobby income. So once your motivation becomes a profit instead, then you might be considered a business. Tax treatment, unlike business income, hobby income is not eligible for the same range of deductions. However, it is still taxable and must be reported on your tax return. So that's kind of the bummer, because you got this hobby income and you're making a little income, but most of us musicians end up paying way more than what we actually make. But is it deductible? Okay. Oops. There we go. The IRS criteria for determining hobby versus business. They use several factors, whether an activity is hobby or business. The key is whether activity is conducted as with profit motives. These are factors that are detailed in publication 535 and include a bunch of stuff that I can hardly read, because as you can see, I don't have any glasses. My new glasses broke. It was like, yeah, this is a great time for them to break. So anyway, I am kind of blind. But anyway, so let's see if we can read this. A profit motive, history of profits. Whether the activity has generated a profit in 3 out of the last 5 years, this is a good indicator of profit motive. Has your business ever made a profit? And do you want to elaborate on that, Merv? I mean,
well, what is the most important thing in determining a hobby from a business? It's income. How much money do you make? how do you determine how much money do you make? I was shocked when I first started getting into the music business how much it is run by cash. A lot of people are paid by cash. Even when I receive a W-3 saying, which tells us, um, tells somebody paying me something, what my information is to send me a 1099 at the end of the year. Well, I give them a W-3, but I never get the 1099. Um, if you don't receive a 1099, do you have to report income? Any income received, whether by cash, credit card, Venmo, it's all reportable according to the rules. Now, do
According to
people
rules,
really report that? If
right?
somebody playing Hanukkah sitting in gets paid $20 and expends $40 on dinner and a couple of beers, is it reportable? Well, theoretically, according to the government, yes, you have to report that as income. Um, that is one thing that people don't really understand is that if I don't get a 1099, do I still have to report the income? And the proper answer is yes, you do. Now, do people really do that? Not in all cases.
Right. So yeah, you're also supposed to report income from illegal activities too. So I mean, the IRS
Well,
has come
that's
out and
true
said
too.
that you're supposed to report
Yeah,
those. So
yeah. Hold on.
uh,
Income from whatever source derived is reportable unless specifically excluded by the law. So everything is reportable unless excluded in the Internal Revenue Code. That's the actual law.
absolutely, that's correct. Yep. Interesting. Okay, so there's a little bit about what profit motivation. Okay, so what about the manner of operation? Whether you operate as an activity or you're operating like a business, like you're going and tracking, you have a separate bank account, you're operating like a business. Okay, so your expertise, whether you have expertise or consult with experts in the field to improve profitability, time and effort that you put into it, the amount of time or effort you put into an activity, more time and effort suggest a business intention that we're motivated to increase our profits, our financial status, maybe whether you have a significant personal assets that are at risk, investing personal funds into an activity may indicate a business motive. So we were going in and investing, well, which we do anyway, right? When we buy our equipment. So anyway, success in similar activities, elements of personal pleasure, whether the activity is pursued mainly for the personal enjoyment without substantial focus on profit. So those are a number of one of those suggestions of what a profit motive would look like. Now, letter B, IRS Form 5213 requests for time to determine if an activity is a business. And if the IRS considers your activity a hobby, but you believe it's a business, and you can file Form 5213 to request an extended period to establish your activity as a business. And you might be able to elaborate on this because this has to do with the being profitable 3 out of the 5 years and so forth. There's different things that the
Yeah.
IRS will look at, right?
When most people think of the hobby loss rules, they think of the one rule where if you show a profit for 3 out of 5 years, you are an actual business and you can take expenses. Well, you look at the list, and these are not in the law. They're not in the code. They're actually guidelines, and
Mm-hmm.
they're audit guidelines. It's like in general, if a person shows income 3 out of 5 years, he probably is a business. But there are many businesses, not just in the music field, but there are many businesses who don't show a profit for years and years and years. Airline businesses, automakers, construction companies, they can go years without a profit and then show a very large profit. So the same thing with a musician too. If you can show a profit motive, if you can show you are doing things the right way and trying to set up a business in the future that's going to make profit, that you're going to be able to fund your retirement or your savings. If you can show that you're an actual business, then you are a business. You just have to prove it to the IRS sometimes.
Yep. Very good. Very, very good. Nice. Oh, so. Okay, so reporting hobby income. We're going to get down to reporting hobby. So we've determined, let's say that we've determined that we are doing hobby income, or it's basically a hobby, and we need to report some gig money that we made. All right, so reporting hobby income is on your Schedule 1 form of your 1040. It's on line 8. It's added to other income, and then it's taxed accordingly. Okay. So this is kind of where it gets weird, because the deductions for hobby expenses, well, you can't deduct hobby expenses because of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act right now. So there's no personal deductions, but if once that retires, they will go back to the old rule possibly, and these deductions would then be subject to the 2% AGI adjusted gross income limit, and then reported on your Schedule A on 1040. So right now, currently, you don't have personal deductions like we did prior to 2017 before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So that is set to retire in 2025. I actually have we're doing a podcast on Wednesday with Laura Strombaum. She's a national speaker for the NATP, and she's going to be coming in and talking with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and possible election impacts based on the two different candidates, and we're going to discuss that. So that's going to be on, but this is going to affect any hobby, whether or not you're going to be able to deduct your hobby expenses. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to that, Merv?
No, I don't think I have anything to add to that one. But
yeah,
looking forward to that. I want to see that seminar.
Yeah, me too. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the seminar. I'm looking forward to having Laura. She's like my what is she? She's like my girl hero in the tax business. It's like she's like, yeah, she's the bomb. So and she's a speaker. I met her in DC when we were actually in Washington DC with the NAEA. We flew in there and we were advocating for taxpayers, right? So I think we were advocating as the 1099Ks, where they went from anything over $10,000, they changed that rule. They get issued a 1099K, and it's like, so we were for that one, and professional tax preparers we had a few different things we were advocating for. I think we got maybe one of them, but the items. But anyway,
Better.
yeah, but it was a really, really fun event for me to be able to participate in that. And I had never done anything like that, like going to Washington and calling on Congress people and, having meetings with them and talking with them about certain things, about taxes.
I've done that in Sacramento. So
you did it with this. Okay. So you did it with California. Yeah.
Yes, correct. I did it with the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah, that's very cool. I enjoy doing that. So Laura and I didn't get to go to this year's fly out. So she's doing some speaking, and she has actually agreed she's going to come on and do it in between her flights. So we'll see how this works out. Right? She goes, I'm going to go in a cubicle and do it with you before my next flight. But anyway, so we'll see. But it'll be fun. And, it's such a sensitive topic right now with a lot of people that really don't have a clue of what, the different tax plans are. So it'll be fun. Okay. So limitations on deductions. Again, I think we've already discussed that. Hobby expenses are considered miscellaneous itemized deductions, which are subject to the 2% floor, but is suspended through the years through 2025. And deductible.
Go a little bit and related to these deductions. That is really not fair. That they are taxing 100% of your income. They're requiring you to report everything, including your tips, and they're not allowing you any deduction related to that. That's something you should talk about in Washington. That's not fair.
Absolutely. And I absolutely agree with you because I know a lot of service workers. I'm talking like I was a flight attendant in a past life. No, but I have flight attendants, you got pilots, you got firefighters, teachers, anybody that actually has employer unreimbursed expenses no longer can deduct those on their personal tax returns until 2025. So it has affected a number of my clients. They are paying more taxes right now. So anyway, I've been looking for. There's a couple little good things in there. I mean, I kind of like a couple things. There's like QBI and a couple little things in that I hope they'll take the best parts of the tax cut and jobs and we'll keep those and get rid of all the stuff that's hurting our middle class. I think. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you got it. You handled it well.
Okay, thank you, Merv. Okay, so transition from a hobby to business, and we've kind of pretty much discussed that. Where recognizing the shift, if your activity starts generating a profit or meets other criteria, indicating it's a business intent now, it might transition from hobby to business. The IRS considers the same factors used to determine hobby status, but focuses on whether the activities reflect a genuine attempt to earn a profit. Okay, so benefits of a classification of a business, I think is pretty much understood at this point that you get to deduct all those deductions, and if it's a hobby, you don't get to deduct anything at this time. Okay. So anyway, scenario. Let's say we got a scenario here. I don't know. A musician who plays at a local venues for enjoyment and occasional payment may have hobby income. If the musician starts actively promoting their music, booking gigs regularly, investing in professional equipment, and maintaining detailed financial records with the intention of making a profit, they are likely shifting into a hobby to a business. And so I kind of see that with you guys, right? You guys making the shift.
With my band?
Yes.
Well, we make money, and I think we do very well, but it depends on the individual. If that person is a professional musician, and some of my guys are, that's all they do is music. Everything they do is related to music. Me, on the other hand, I'm a harmonica player, and I don't know if harmonica players are the most well-paid of the musician types, but my main business is, of course, being a CPA and a tax advisor, and that pays for the harmonicas. So I'm personally, I have a hobby. I admit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hobby. Yeah, but you'd like to be able to deduct your expenses, though. All those, like you said, those harps get expensive. Yeah,
I would like to. I spend a lot of money. On that stuff. So
right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so conclusion, understanding the distinction between hobby versus business income is essential for accurate tax reporting and maximizing deductions. I think we can say that without saying keeping detailed records is important. I think we've covered all of that. Ensuring that the activity is classified as a business rather than a hobby. So the more professional and more business-like that you act, the more likely it's going to be a business venture versus a hobby. Okay, but there are some that actually take their hobbies very seriously, and they do play out like you, Merv. I mean, you guys are playing out a lot. So you're almost. I think you're getting close to where you might be able to make that shift. I don't know. I have a number of musicians that are playing in like tribute bands. And I represent a number of them. And they do quite well. Those tribute bands do quite well, with that.
Yeah. Well, if you have room for me in your roster, maybe you can prepare my taxes next year and get me some nice net operating losses. So.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So anyway, I think we've talked about where to report the no deductions, tax treatment. This is I think we've talked about that of hobby income. I think we've covered examples Yeah, I think we've got some examples. Recognizing the shift, benefits of classifications. This is kind of just a regurgitation of everything that we've just been talking about. So we're just gonna, at this point, I think we're gonna go ahead and conclude. Oh my gosh. And because my wrist is vibrating, and go ahead and conclude our podcast for today. And so at this point, I just really like to thank you, Merv, for coming on, spending your time with me, especially on September 16th, like a filing deadline for us for corporate tax returns. So, I think probably right after we're done, we're both going to be going back right to our desk and trying to get, I don't know how I'm backed up. I think I've got 2 more returns to do. And so I'm hoping that
I have my own. That's the only
you
one.
have your own. Oh, I know. Oh yeah. So, well, I don't know why we always make ours the last, but I'm the same way. I think I always file mine last, and I swear last year I filed it, and then I realized I didn't have my IP pen when I was running to the post office at the last minute to get it filed. I swear I never wanted to run to the post office again, because I remember the old days. The old days, we'd be driving up to Santa Ana post office, like 10 o'clock at night, trying to make
Sunflowers.
it.
I remember.
Oh my gosh, the old days. So anyway, it's just such a pleasure to have you on here, Merv. And thank you for the suggestion, and just thanks for joining me. And I look forward to seeing more of you and doing.
Yep. And Janae's got a birthday coming up too, right?
I got a birthday. My big 6-0 is Wednesday.
So happy birthday to you. Early birthday to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, we're going to do a little jam at Sammy's. All my hobby enthusiast musicians are going to be jamming at Sammy's on Wednesday. So please come if you'd like to join in. I know some of your other bandmates will be there. So I'm hoping anyway.
They're later.
Huh?
I will be there later.
Okay, awesome.
I'll be there.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Well, excellent. You have a wonderful day.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.